Okay, 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the 8th, the Skills Workshop Virtual Careers Fair. For those of you who've been here before and followed the program since June, welcome back. To anyone joining for the first time, welcome. I'm your host, Dana Day, and alongside 60 different firms, we created the Skills Workshop to give you the skills, the knowledge, and the insight you need to prepare for a career within asset management or indeed as a professional trustee. These were created to help increase application success, as the more you understand about the industry and the players within it, the more thoughtful you can be on your applications and your interviews. As a reminder, all of our sessions are free to register. Details should be in the chat box now or shortly. Thank you, Veronique. Our virtual careers fair is like no other. Over the months of September and October, we are featuring 41 different firms this time, every single day for 1 hour, each telling you what they do, how they hire, how we hire, and what skills you need to demonstrate so that you can stand out from other applicants and be successful. It's a pretty competitive world out there. Last night, you heard from investment consulting firm Willis Towers Watson. Tonight, I have the great pleasure of introducing you to the fantastic world of professional pension trusteeship. Joining me today are Shay Awode and Don Ray, and between us, we will introduce our firm, 2020 Trustees. We'll talk about what trustees do and how you can get involved. For me, the magic of the trustee world is that it brings together two really, really important things: doing good things for people who need our help, real people, grandparents, aunts, uncles, moms, dads. And it's still the fast and rigorous and dynamic world of the financial services industry. So those two things together are really quite special for me. Shay and Don Ray will each introduce themselves in just a moment, and you'll have a chance. We have left lots of time at the end to ask questions, so you'll have a chance to ask any questions you like. Just briefly, my name is Dana Day. I'm responsible for all of the sales and marketing efforts of 2020 Trustees. I sit on our executive committee and work closely with others to shape our business and help it grow. And we are always looking for brilliant new talent from every background. As a reminder, this is a webinar. We won't see your faces, but please do use the Q&A function. You can see it at the bottom of your screen to ask us any questions. You can ask questions throughout. I will bring them all together and moderate questions for Shay and Don Ray towards the end of the session. So without further ado, as usual, grab your pen and your paper and let's get into tonight's workshop. I'm going to share my screen.
Feel free to tell us where you're from, guys, as well. There's a question in the chat. Where are you from? Just drop it in the chat. Where are you based, location-wise?
Awesome. All right, let me kick off. I'm going to say a few words about what it means to be a pension trustee. I know a lot of people probably don't understand, who are you? What do you do? So here's the basics. You're an employee, you're a person, you're going to work. There's work, right? Once upon a time, we all went to work in offices. Your work does this thing. They sponsor a pension scheme. Now that pension scheme can be all kinds of shapes and sizes. Don't worry about that. But what happens is your work sponsors a pension scheme. Now, a couple things. Your company pays into that pension scheme, and you pay into that pension scheme. And then what happens is when you're ready to retire, when lots of people are ready to retire, that pension scheme then pays retirement assets out to those people. What a trustee does is a trustee sits almost on top of that pension scheme and manages it, much like a CEO manages a company, or your manager manages your team, or a teacher manages a classroom. So the pension trustee is responsible for managing, running, driving, making decisions on that pension scheme. That's what we do at 2020 Trustees, and we'll tell you more about that. But where do we fit in terms of all of the people you've been seeing in these various sessions? Where do we fit in the ecosystem? Here's where we fit, right? Here's you, here's the pension trustee, sitting on top of that pension scheme, managing lots of different decisions. Here are all the players in the ecosystem. You've heard from Willis Towers Watson last night, investment management, investment consulting. You have business advisors who help the company decide the best way forward. You have administrators who keep track of money and payments and all of the details of record keeping. You have actuaries who do calculations about how much money every person in that pension scheme is due. Consultants we've talked about, and you have lawyers, very important, lawyers who keep us on track and keep us doing things correctly. Now, what a pension trustee does is they effectively make sure that all of these helpers, all of these advisors are doing the right thing at the right price to get that pension scheme where it needs to go. We hire advisors, we fire advisors, we run projects, and we do everything in between. But really, we're kind of that executive function that runs a pension scheme. I'll tell you a little bit about 2020 trustees before I hand it over to Shay and Don Ray. What I love about where we are, and I know you'll see this tonight, is we are young, we're diverse, and we're growing. It's fantastic. If you think about, so a lot of, when you meet investment managers and investment consultants, they'll tell you this assets under management number. Trustees, as you can see, we don't manage assets directly, but we're responsible, or we are the shepherds in some way of those assets and getting them to where they need to go. We shepherd, we are responsible for over 52 billion pounds of assets at 2020 trustees. And that represents, remember those people that I showed you in the pension scheme, that represents over or almost 1.5 million pensioners and future pensioners. The other thing I wanted to mention is we're all over the UK. You can see here all of our locations. It's really important that we're quite local, that we talk to people locally who we know, they know us, we get to know them. It really makes a difference when you're trying to solve some of those big challenges and those big projects on the schemes. We're not the only pension trustee firm by any stretch of the imagination. I can't list them all because there are so many great organizations in our industry, but here are some of the others. These are our competitors, but they're also wonderful people who are doing great things for pension schemes all across the industry. So these are all names that if you want to look them up or if you have questions, we're very happy to answer questions. That's the end of the introduction bit. I'm now going to turn it over to Shay, who's going to tell you about some of the details about being a pension trustee and what that means.
Thanks, Dana. And just before I go into the slides, I just want to quickly introduce myself. So as Dana said, my name is Shay Woode. I'm a senior pensions trustee consultant. Formal title, but all it essentially means is I support the professional pension trustees that Dana was referring to in their roles and in their decision making. And I help manage the pension scheme's journey and have aspirations of eventually becoming a pension trustee or professional trustee myself in future. And professional trustee, I'm going to use that word a lot, but it just essentially means that the trustees that Dana was referring to earlier that manage the pension scheme. And that's what our firm does 2020. And so like many jobs, some people think I need particular skills to excel in the pensions world or in professional trusteeship, as well as the industry more broadly. So I hear things like, oh, Shay, don't I need pensions knowledge? Or don't I need knowledge of the financial industry and the economy and how interest rates change and all the jargon around economic news? And don't I need excellent communication skills like Dana? Or don't I need top-notch leadership skills like Don Ray? Or literally, before we started this call, someone said, do I need to be good with numbers? Because I'm not very good at numbers. And look, here's the truth, or here's the good news. You don't need to have those skills. They're really helpful, don't get me wrong, and I wouldn't discourage anyone from acquiring these skills, but they can be learned and developed in the workplace, that you can learn these things on the job. What I think people interested in professional trusteeship should focus on are skills that are a little bit harder to teach. So skills like intellectual curiosity and a love for learning. Saying I use in the pensions world is every day is a school day. You're constantly learning. So you need to have an appetite for learning. You need to be open-minded and innovative. You need to come up with new ideas. It's an evolving industry that needs change in how we approach things. So coming up with new ideas and solving problems is at the center of what we do. You need great interpersonal skills, because this is an industry, like many service jobs, it's built on human capital, right? The biggest assets are the people. And you got to be able to relate with people, because you're going to be talking to them and interfacing with them a lot. You also need good adaptability. So you need to be able to respond to change and dynamism, because again, change and dynamism it goes hand in hand with the industry that we're in. It's always changing. It's always evolving. New things are always coming. The news is always being updated. And you have to have resilience, right? You have to have the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. And that's something that you probably need to have in any career. And look, the main point I want to hit here is these are skills, if you notice, that they're not easy to teach, right? So you can't be taught these. All the traditional skills that people think you need to have, you can learn on the job. But these skills that I think you should focus on, they're not easy to teach. But the really crucial thing, which I want you guys to take away, is that anyone can have these skills. You don't have to be a first-class graduate from Oxbridge. Anyone can have these skills. Next slide, please. So how do you get into trusteeship, or what are the routes into the industry? So there's so many different routes. Holistically speaking, look, it's a very nimble, small industry. It's quite a niche area. And so there's not one way of getting into the industry. There's so many. So one of those ways is work experience and insight days. So some companies will offer work experience, or I'll come on to later, but through your network, you might be able to get work experience. Another way is internships and school leaver programs, and Don Ray's going to speak soon, and he came through an internship route. So that's one way into the industry. Another is internships and grad schemes. And the truth is, as an industry, because we're so small and nimble, as I said, we're not as developed in our use of internships and grad schemes. But you know, they might not be formally advertised on websites, but they are there, and we are getting better as an industry in presenting those opportunities. Another way is through entry-level jobs and fixed-term contracts. So companies will post entry-level jobs that they're hiring for, and a really good firm, if you guys are interested in professional trusteeship or the pensions industry or the investment management industry more widely, is investment2020.org.uk. They post a lot of entry-level jobs and fixed-term contracts. So I definitely recommend signing up to their website. Another way is to ask people in your network for introductions and informal chats. So ask people to introduce you to people in the industry. And that's how I personally came into the industry. I had a friend who was being mentored by someone in the pensions industry. And he said, would you like to meet my mentor? And I said, okay. And he told me what he did. And interestingly, I didn't tell him that I was looking for a job or that I wanted a job. We just spoke. But this was on a Monday morning, and the Thursday of that same week, I bumped into him again in the city, and he said, I forgot to ask you on Monday, but are you interested in a job in pensions? And that's how I ended up in the pensions industry. Now, I just want to caveat what I said. Like, it says ask people in your network, but some people say, Shay, I don't have a network. Yeah, that may be the case, and that may be true. You might not have access to the person, for example, that introduced me into the pensions industry. However, what I will say is we all have access to a potential network. So there's a website called LinkedIn, which many of you will probably have heard of, and that's where we store our CVs and information about our job history. And you can reach out to people on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to Dana on LinkedIn. You can reach out to Don Ray on LinkedIn. And just ask, hey, can I spend 15, 30 minutes chatting to you about your job? And the worst you will get is a no, in which case you move on to someone else. But hopefully me, Dana, and Don Ray won't say no. So if you did want to find out more, feel free to reach out to us if you do have a LinkedIn account. And the last way I wanted to talk about was through a recruiter or headhunter, and coming in as a more experienced hire. So recruiters actually use LinkedIn quite a lot to recruit talent for various roles in the industry. But they typically look for experienced hires, not always, but in more often than not, that is the case. Next slide. So what might a day in the world of professional trusteeship or at 2020 look like? So you might hear this a lot when people are describing their day jobs. No 2 days are the same. So it's very hard to really walk you through what I do, for example, on a day-to-day basis. But it's so dynamic and there are lots of different things that you could do. And I'll just give you an example of some. So as Dana described, in the professional trustee world, there's lots of advisors that advise the trustees. And that means that there's lots of correspondence that's coming from these advisors. And it's important to make sense of that correspondence and know what to do. And so our job, if you were to work in the industry, is to make sense of what our advisors telling us and what do we do with that information. First class customer service is so important. So we also need to be able to review advisors, and occasionally advisors need to be changed as well. So we would what we call go out to tender and interview different advisors to see who's the best to take on the scheme. There's also lots of board meetings. It is a meeting culture. So trustees, similar to corporate pension boards where you have your CEO, CFO, they have lots of board meetings. Professional trustees also have lots of board meetings, usually occurs once a quarter or twice a year. And sometimes your role in that might be taking minutes and recording action points to take from the meeting. As trustees, we are the custodians of people's retirement savings. So we need to sometimes write to members. Members are the pensioners and the people that are attached to the scheme, and we need to resolve some of their queries ad hoc as well. We also get involved in projects, or what we sometimes call client deliverables. One of those projects is when a pension scheme is in a healthy position, it can be brought out by an insurance company. And we call insurance companies sometimes a gold plate home for pensioners. And that's because they have strict regulatory capital requirements and they need to hold a lot of cash relative to their assets under management. And so part of our role is to get the pension scheme to an insurance company or a similar company to essentially deliver safer financial futures for the pensioners. Another role is corporate transactions and M&A. So our pension schemes are part of businesses, and businesses undergo corporate activity, right? They get acquired. COVID, we've just had a massive pandemic. So a lot of businesses have been restructuring their operations. And we need to ask the question, how did these corporate changes affect the pension scheme, or what impact do they have on pensioners? And it's our job to answer those questions and make decisions off the back of it. And we also develop new service offerings. And what I mean by that is we hear this term entrepreneurship, where you create businesses. Well, when you work for a business, you can create new businesses within a business. And we call that entrepreneurship. And that's one of our values as a firm. Next bit, please. And also business and networking. So it's our job, as I said before, people are our biggest assets. And we need to get out into the market and relate with other people. And we need to keep in touch with those people. So at 2020, for example, we do lots of what we call team on teams, where we have virtual meetings or face-to-face meetings with other people within the industry. And all that is part of is also building your personal brand. So if you were to work in the pensions industry, you have a personal brand that you're developing, and you can become a voice of change and positive impact within this industry. Because as I say, it's very important that we deliver financial futures to pensioners once they retire. And part of that could be writing blogs, tweeting on social media, putting out LinkedIn posts to do with what you're reading about and seeing in the industry, or public speaking at various events. I guess the point I really want to hit home is our job as pension trustees is to deliver to pensioners the right amount of pensions that they're paid or that they're due at the right time. And part of that requires, or it does require in totality, a lot of integrity. And one of the key values you need to excel in the industry is integrity. So now I'm going to pass over to Domre, who's going to speak a bit about his journey into pensions.
Hi everyone, I'm Donray. I'm the new business development assistant here at 2020 Trustees. I joined back in June, and a bit about my role is I help write proposals, which helps drive a new business to 2020 Trustees. I help with product development and marketing objectives. So a bit about my background is I grew up in East London, Hackney to be precise, and I went to a school called Haggerston Secondary School, and at my GCSE level, I studied English language, maths, religious, combined science, Spanish, history, religious education, all the normal stuff as a normal student would. And then I went into A levels because I was unsure what I wanted to become. I was unsure what I wanted to do. At that time, I was 16. I thought I wanted to become a footballer to some extent. Had a few trials, playing a few semi-pro, had a few injuries, but I still had this growth mindset that I always wanted to work in business, and I always knew that football was a 1 in a million chance, and there was more opportunities out there for me. So I chose to go sixth form and play semi-pro at the same time. I studied English literature, history, and sociology, and an extra essay-based subject called EPQ, and this all helped me expand my writing skills, which now supply the job I have. And after A levels, I decided that I wanted to do an apprenticeship. So it was back in 2020 March, where we just got hit by the pandemic of COVID-19, and this was probably roughly about 4 months after I joined year 12, and I was just so surprised with online learning and just being locked at home. I could say, during the pandemic, mental health was definitely a big thing for people my age and for students, but I became very unmotivated with A levels and then going to university. My teachers used to just give us large sums of work and just send it to us. I'd get a booklet of 30 markers for sociology just to do, and my teacher wouldn't even be in the country by then, but she would just give it to us. So this led me to look to more untraditional pathways into my career goals. So then I decided to do an apprenticeship, which led me to turn down 4 university offers. I got 3 conditionals and 1 unconditional offer. I got an unconditional from Anglia Ruskin and a conditional from Northumbria University. And I think the reason why I turned down all my university offers was because I knew that I was just holding on to them for insurance in case I didn't get an apprenticeship. And I really wanted to get an apprenticeship in the sense that I was applying for an apprenticeship every single day. So I'd get home, I'd get back on the gov.uk website, I get on Indeed website, and it's almost like applying for a job. And I'd just be applying every day. And I went through a phase where I did about 10 interviews in almost 2 weeks, just really trying to get an apprenticeship. And I knew I didn't want to go down to my heart. I knew I didn't want to go to university, but I kept these university options open as an insurance just in case. So about 2 weeks before I got an apprenticeship, I decided to decline all 4 of my universities. And I thought to myself, just to give it my best shot and just go all hard. So I finished school May the 28th, and about a week later, I found out that I got an apprenticeship here at 2020 Trustees. And I started in 3 weeks. So it was about my summer term from 3 months to 3 weeks. So I had to adapt very quickly. But yeah, ever since I've been here at 2020 Trustees, it's honestly been amazing. I work with amazing people. I meet great people every single day. As Shay says, no day is the same. Every day is different. You learn and you grow every single day. And honestly, I've enjoyed my time here at 2020 Trustees. Being only 18 years old, it can be intimidating joining the industry. There's full of people much older than you, much more wise than you, people that have gone to university since I'm just coming fresh from 6th form. But honestly, I felt ever since I've joined 2020 Trustees, my voice has been as well respected as most of the senior people at 2020. And that just resembled the pension industry itself. It's a people business, it's great, everyone's nice, everyone some more or less gets along. But honestly, it's an industry for everyone. And to anyone out there that's in my position or was in my position, or maybe you're going to university or you're doing your A levels and you don't know where you want to go for the next few years of your life, I'd say, get general working experience, come join the pension industry. We welcome everyone. Our arms are open, especially here at 2020 Trustees. And yeah, I have a blog coming out where I speak more about my journey into the pension that should be posted next week. So, if you go on LinkedIn and you follow 2020 Trustees, you should see that post coming up, and you will be able to see more back into my background, my story, and the reasons behind me joining an apprenticeship and choosing to join the pension industry, and a bit about why I turned down maybe BBC and working with the government at apprenticeship level to choose 2020 Trustees.
Amazing. Thank you, Don Ray. I could hear you tell that story over and over again. You're so inspirational. It's such a joy to work with you. Anyway, we are now at the point where Q&A is open. You are very welcome to post questions on the chat. I have a couple questions already, or alternatively, just raise your hand and ask them live. This is hopefully a chat. We're a nice small group on this Friday night as we end our summer evenings. So if I can kick it off with, I have a question. Don Ray and Shay and you and I, we could probably all answer this one together, is what kind of training do we provide when you start with 2020 Trustees, and what qualifications do we help you with? I can speak to that, but maybe you guys can talk a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, sure. So what training do we provide? The real answer is, what training do you want? We can really provide anything. In the professional pensions industry, there is an accreditation, which I think is formally called the Certificate in Pensions Trusteeship. And so if you have aspirations of becoming a trustee in future, as I do, it makes sense to do that accreditation. It's kind of like similar to getting chartered in an engineering degree, or it's just a rubber stamp to say you've been accredited. And it's not a challenging exam, I would say. This is 2 parts, so 2 exams, which can be done relatively quickly. One is a soft skills exam, so that's more scenario-based, testing your soft skills. Remember what I said, integrity is key in this industry. A lot of it is about your character. And so a soft skills exam test your character in different scenarios, and then more of a technical exam as well. So on the what we call the pensions regulator website, which the TPR, which is the name of the regulator that regulates the pensions industry, they have a massive toolkit which is used to help trustees build their knowledge, and the technical exam is just an extension of that toolkit. Don Ray, do you want to talk about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, from the first day, I was supported by Dana a lot, so she helped me out a lot. I mean, there's just general more stuff, skills you could learn. The trustee toolkit is what I've been using to, develop my technical knowledge more about pensions and being a trustee, because I work in business development. Some of these things are, we don't really want to learn, we don't need to learn about these stuff because we just help grow a new business. But yeah, I've been using the trustee toolkit a lot. I get help from my training provider, JGA, which helped me develop new ways to become a better bidding coordinator and help me write proposals better and almost, become a better project manager. And I'd say, yeah, all of these things are here and available at 2020 Trustees.
Thanks, guys. I will go into the next question. We have another good one here. I'll mention it, and then I might handle this, but if you have something to add, please do. We mentioned that trustees choose investment managers for pension schemes, which is largely, we get involved in that process. Certainly we manage that process. What are the criteria you have for choosing or replacing an investment manager? I think how I'll start that is, it is so specific to every scheme. Every scheme is like a personality or a person who has a challenge that they need to solve, and it's very personal to them. Size, membership, liabilities, deficit, company position, investment objectives. There are so many variables that's absolutely impossible to answer with a stock answer. So that would be how I'd start that off. But Shay or Don Ray, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, sure. So it's again, holistically speaking, it's you forgive the humor, but it's a little bit like choosing a spouse, a relationship. It's making sure that you have good chemistry with the people, with the advisors in this particular question, the investment managers. And that can be measured in all sorts of ways. It could simply be how they present and how they communicate messages. It could be experience. Are they experienced in managing the scheme that they are presenting to you for? It could be what's becoming a big topic in the pensions world is ESG, environmental, social and governance factors. And increasingly in the investment world, which if you're interested in investments, it's a really good topic to familiarize yourself with. We're moving towards bringing in more ESG considerations, and that is also something that we will consider when going out to an investment manager.
Thanks, Shay. You're absolutely right. ESG is critical these days. Don Ray, anything to add? Awesome. We do have a question here about salary ranges for 2020 trustees. It depends tremendously. I think the best recommendation I would have is there are a few jobs posted on our website at the moment. So I would definitely say take a look at those. That will give you a good sense. But broadly speaking, we are in line with others in the pension and professional services industry. So it's competitive. We watch our budgets very carefully, but we're very competitive. So good question. And then I have another one here about when will the summer internship program open? Shay did a beautiful job talking about all the routes into 2020 trustees. We don't have a formal internship program. However, because we're a small business. However, Shay and Don Ray can tell you there are lots of ways that you can start to get involved, and maybe just talk about some of our open jobs or postings, guys.
Yeah, sure. So just to feed off what Dana said, we're a very nimble business. We're a very small business. And that means we can make decisions very quickly without going through a massive hierarchy. And so if you were interested in a job here, just hit us up and tell us, declare your interest. Obviously think about why you're interested. Don't just say, I need a job, but do some research into who we are and really consider if you really want a job here. But hit us up, and if we can't give you something straight away, there may be an opportunity that comes about in future, and that's the benefit of being a small, fast-moving business. But yeah, generally, if you're looking for summer internships in between your degrees, again, hit us up before you head into summer, and we can hopefully look to find something suitable for you, and we can try and tailor it to your interests as well.
Precisely.
Yeah, one thing I would say I learned from applying to apprenticeships is that you got to be patient. You got to be hardworking, but also you got to do your research. So I say if you want a summer internship with 2020s or anyone else, you got to do your research. You got to be dedicated. You got to be motivated. You're gonna have to go for. It's gonna be you and versus maybe 50 people or 100 people, and you just got to focus on yourself and be yourself, because that's the best you can be. And just do your research and be patient, and it will all come out well.
Staying on the internship question, we have another question about summer internships to final year master's graduates. And I think hopefully we've talked about this, but please add, we're just looking for brilliant people. You can be any level, you can be any discipline, you can be any background. We're just looking for people who want to do great work for what Shay described beautifully.
Yeah, well said. I don't think I can add to that. Yeah, so if you're a master's student, we're looking for you. If you're an apprentice at Donray, we're looking for you. If you're 42 and looking for a job in the pensions industry, we're looking for you. We're just looking for great minds with the right character, good work ethic, good energy levels, and an interest in pensions.
Brilliant. I think actually now is probably a really good time. Shay, can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and your pathway? We didn't hear too much about it. You were so good at telling us all about the trustee role. Yeah,
sure. So similar to Donray, I grew up in East London, so probably not too far away from Donray actually, in an area called Stratford, in a borough called Newham. So yeah, I went to secondary school. Interestingly, in my secondary school, I back in those days, and probably still is the case with many secondary schools. If you want to get into some of the best secondary schools, some of them were Catholic or had sort of Catholic traditions, and so you had to go to a Catholic church and get confirmed. And my mum wanted me to go to the all boys Catholic school in my local borough, but she signed me up for confirmation too late, and so I did my confirmation, but couldn't get in because by the time I finished, applications were already closed. And so she thought, hey, why don't I put him in the other all boys school in the borough, not knowing that it was the worst performing school in the borough. So I spent 5 years at a school that was on the verge of being closed down by the government. But yeah, it was good character building. And so, but what it taught me what I kind of realized after 5 years there was I need to kind of get out of the environment I was in. And I decided to apply for colleges outside of the borough I was living in at the time. So I looked around Essex and neighboring boroughs, and end up going to college in Essex. Complete change, but was good for building my adaptability. And ended up going to university from there. So at college, actually, I ended up doing 2 A-levels because I went from a school where I wasn't really learning much to a school where it was quite hard. And so it was a big adjustment. And so I kept on swapping subjects. I tried doing economics, didn't like it. Tried doing physics, hated it. Tried doing drama, hated that as well. And at the end of the day, they called my mum in and kind of, they were concerned because I kept on dropping subjects. And they were telling me to look at apprenticeships, and my mum being a strict Nigerian mum and me being her first son, 3, she was like, my son is going to uni. And it didn't look like I was going to uni at that time with my 2 A-levels, but we devised a plan. In those days, you had to do 4 A-levels, drop 1, and then in your second year, do another 3. But we devised a plan to make sure that I finished 1 A-level in 1 year, which was my maths A-level, and then I picked up another one, did that in 1 year to give me the 3 A-levels I need to go to uni. So I went to Loughborough University and studied maths and accounting. And from there, the only industries that were really in your face at university was investment banking, accounting, and like law. So I went into investment banking first, but on the what they call the operation side. So that's the kind of administrative side of banking. And I did that for 2 years until that conversation that I spoke about earlier in my presentation. I had a friend who was being mentored by a guy in the pensions industry. He introduced me, we spoke, just a really informal chat. His wife is Nigerian, so we ended up speaking about Nigeria for an hour or so. And then I bumped into him that very same week. And he was like, I forgot to ask you on Monday, but are you interested in a new job? And I said, yes, I'm getting bored of doing administrative work. I want to be in front of clients. And he gave me a path into the pensions industry. And I did that job for 3 years. And I thought about my skills that I was developing. I realized that I'm quite deliberative. I like to converse with people and figure out what both sides of the fence are saying, and come up with a consensus decision. Values that I'd learned. I learned to be honest, to speak truthfully, and it just seemed like a good marriage to come into trusteeship. And so yeah, at the start of this year, actually, so within the pandemic, a job opportunity came at 2020 Trustees, a very fast-growing organization. It's doubled in size over the past 2 years, so always opportunities coming up here. Job opportunity came up. Dana, who interestingly I worked with at my previous job, had just got a job here the week that I had my interview. So I called her up. Your network can be small, but it can still be very effective. And I said, "Oh, I'm about to interview at the job at the work that you just started." And she gave me a bit of insight based on her 3 days at 2020, and she knew straight away that this was the place for her, just because of the people she was working with and the culture and the ethos that it has. And so yeah, the reviews were glowing. I got a sense of that as I interviewed, and yeah, it made sense for me to join after that. So that's how I ended up in pension trusteeship.
I love that. Thanks, Shay. And while you were speaking, someone has just asked an absolutely brilliant question. I will ask it and then turn it over to you guys. really nice compliment. We look very passionate about what we do. And that's true. We are passionate about what we do. And that's something that this really resonates with this person. How do we assess if someone is a good suit for 2020 trustees?
Domre, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I remember having my first interview with Angela Connolly, who's the business development manager here at 2020 Trustees. And we kicked off our conversation, and I asked her, you know, what do you like in people? What do you like about working in a team? And she just told me that, you know, she's hardworking, so she expects everyone else around her to be hardworking. She's passionate, she expects everyone else around her to be passionate. At 2020 Trustees, we're really just all passionate about pensions, I could say. I mean, I'm still new to the industry, so I'm maybe not as passionate about everyone, but I'm just as interested as they are passionate. And I think that's what funds my passion at coming in every day with a smile on my face. You know, I'm eager to learn more about pensions, trusteeship, anything to do with this industry. And yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't really know how to answer the question to assess because I'm still so new myself. So I wouldn't be able to assess someone who's perfectly fit for this role. But I think Shay and Dana will have a better approach.
Yeah, so thanks, Domre. It comes back down to what I said in my presentation, right? It's not about the traditional skills, but about the intellectual curiosity, the open mind, the open-mindedness, innovative thinking, the great interpersonal skills, the adaptability and resilience. If you show all those things, it's those character traits that we're looking for.
And I have to add too, the thing that I absolutely love about working with both of you and also the whole company is people are genuinely kind and thoughtful. And that, to me, having an entire organization of people who are kind and thoughtful and intelligent and intellectually curious, my goodness, that is just a wonderful place to be. So that's very powerful. Anonymous attendee who asked that question, I hope we've answered it for you. I have another one. Could we talk a little bit about our company in terms of how we are different from our competitors? I'm happy to take bits of this one, but Donre and Shay, please go for it.
Yeah, so Domre made a very potent statement in his presentation in that the pensions industry is full of older people and that's changing. And we realize as an organization, we want to be at the forefront of diversity and thinking, and we're a very energetic organization. And so we realize that we have to pivot away from this approach of just hiring people at the end of their careers. And what that meant was we're not just focused on people at the end of their careers. In fact, more often than not, we don't hire people at the end of their careers, but people more junior in their careers or have a track record but haven't been in the industry for 20 plus years. And so what that creates is quite a youthful company that's very diverse in our skill sets, and we recruit from, so Dana gave that presentation about all the different advisors, and we try and pick bits of all those advisory pots, if you like. And again, what that creates is a company where you have such a diverse array of thinking when you collaborate. So I'd say that makes us quite unique.
Donre?
Yeah, I'll say our people, our approach, and you know our aim to be diverse. I say our people at Hair 2020 are amazing, as I said before, and I'll say it again. You know, on the first day, I just remember opening Teams to like a bombarding in a positive way of messages welcoming me, and this is my first ever job, so that's a bit like overwhelming, but it was in a good way. You know, everyone welcomed me. I got emails being welcomed. I think I even checked today back to an email, and I was being welcomed on the training events, and I actually never saw the email, but it just shows that the people here at 2020, they're all passionate, you know, they're all excited to be working here with each other. We're all passionate about what we do, and we all get along well. I'll say our approach. So one thing that stood about me when I was applying for one thing that stood out about 2020 when I was applying for was their approach, how they put their clients first, they put the sponsors first, and that's at the first thing of their mind. And I say that approach is very good in business, but not only just, you know, in the pension industry. You know, our main job is to help people and help employees and help sponsors help their employees. get benefits. So I'll say our approach and our people.
I love it. And you just have me thinking, Don, right? You know, we talk a lot about diversity, right? Diversity for us is about hiring people who think differently, really. And then, but the mistake that often gets made is you hire people who think differently, and then you say, yes, but join our firm and you can just be like everybody else. We value those differences, really. And so I think what differentiates us is we really do think differently. We solve problems better than other firms, perhaps because we have lots of different viewpoints working on a particular problem, different disciplines adding to the conversation. That's a real competitive advantage in my book. I think the other thing that's a piece of that to me is teamwork. You know, a lot of firms talk about, do you like to work as a team? And everybody says yes. I mean, who's going to say no? But we really do work as a team. You can call up anyone within 2020 any day and say, hey, I don't know how to solve this. And they will drop what they're doing and they will help you. And I think that's pretty darn remarkable. So those are key things, you know, our ability to solve problems differently, pragmatically, because of our diversity is so important. There you go.
Sorry, Dana, I just have to apologize to everyone in advance. I'm having an IT upgrade, and that means my computer is going to shut down in 30 seconds, but I will join back as soon as I can.
Okay, thanks for the warning, Shay. We'll see you in a minute. So we've talked about differentiators. I have a great question here, and Don Ray, you can certainly talk a little bit about this. How would you describe the work-life balance at 2020 Trustees?
So the one thing I tell all my friends is the first thing Dana said to me. She said to me, she doesn't want me to work out of hours or on weekends. She said she doesn't want me to pick up a laptop on the weekends or beyond 5 p.m. And I think, you know, that's amazing, because I was coming into 2020 Trustees. I was very self-motivated, I was very hardworking. So I was coming in thinking, I'm gonna do whatever possible, you know, to show that I'm the right fit. I didn't mind working on Saturday and Sundays. You know, I didn't mind picking up the laptop. I didn't mind working up at 6, 7 p.m. But she literally said to me, you're young, you're only 18 years old, enjoy life. And, you know, and I think, you know, that stood out for me. And ever since she's told me that, I've kind of taken on a backspace. And, you know, from 9 to 5, I'm working, and from 5 to 10, I'm doing stuff that I want to do. That's between my life. Maybe that's hanging out with my friends, that's playing football, that's playing video games, watching documentaries, or watching Netflix. So I think the work-life balance at 2020 is amazing. Although that you can call on anyone at any time and they will answer, no matter what. Like, I can have a question for Dana at maybe 7 p.m. and she'll respond to me by 7:02. And I think the work-life balance is amazing. Everyone's available at any time, even though, you know, there is you at 9 to 5. But my work-life balance is amazing. You know, I know when I'm working and I know when I'm not working. And I think that's the amazing bit about it. And just being only 18, I think that's perfect.
Oh, Don Ray, that's very, very kind of you. It's important because, you know, the worst thing that we can do, I think, as an organization is hire brilliant people who bring all of these cool life experiences from outside work. And then the worst thing we can do is turn people into working all the time. I mean, then you lose all of that neat stuff that you do outside of work. So that's really important to us, to all of us. Thank you. Okay, so here's a question, Don Ray. Ready? What's the best thing about 2020 Trustees for you? Best thing.
Now, I know I've said this a lot, but I'm going to say it again for the third time, is the people. I remember, I think it was my second day, I spoke to the managing director, Naomi, and, you know, our conversation, you know, wasn't the most conventional conversation you will have with your new boss, you could say. You know, we spoke about how we both had accidents with bikes, how we both had injuries, how we both played football. And I think, you know, just having a nice typical conversation with someone that is your boss, that doesn't seem your boss, I think that's the most amazing thing that is possible. I think everyone here at 2020 was so welcoming to me when I joined. You know, they all offered their help. Duncan Wilshire, who's you know, he offered me help in investing advice. Tom Stockley offered me if there's anything I needed, you know, I could call to him. You know, everyone was just welcoming, and everyone offered me help, and everyone made sure that I was settled in well. And I say, yeah, again, I say it's the people.
I can't agree with you more. I've been, you're 18, I'm much, much older, and I've been working for a really long time, and I still come back and say I found the best group of people I can ever imagine being colleagues with. So it's quite special. Great. I have another question. Oh, here we go. and this may be one for Shay. I can try to answer this one, but Donray will give it a shot. There's a person who would like to be prepared as possible before they apply for a role. Are there any qualifications we would recommend they do before they apply?
So, I mean, Shay touched on this earlier, and as I said, I listed my GCSEs and my A-levels to show that, you know, I'm the most, not the most basic, but, you know, I'm no different to anyone out there that wants to be designed for this role. If anything, with my qualifications, you'd think I'd be an English teacher or something like that, but I'm here working at business development at 2020 Trustees. So I wouldn't really say there's any qualifications in particular you need to, you know, revise for, but I'd say do your research about the industry, do your research about the companies, you know. If this is something that you really want, dive into it, work hard for it, you know, learn more about it, become almost obsessed with it, and just try and try to speak to as many people as you can possibly.
I love it. I totally agree. I don't think you'd need any qualifications before you can, you know, look for a role at 2020. I think just doing your research, as Donray says, on the pension industry and what we do and how it, you know, how we think and what we stand for and some of our values is really, really important. Nice. I totally agree. Okay, I have one more question. We have a question here: pensions consultancy and pensions trusteeship have many similarities. Why choose trusteeship over consultancy? I know that's a very thoughtful one, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Okay.
It seems like more of a question for Shay.
It is. It might be a question for Shay, because he'll have more background, obviously, because he's been in the working world a bit longer. Let me take a stab at that one. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's leave that. Hopefully Shay will be back with us in just a sec. There's another question that's just come in. Donray, you mentioned that you're in business development. This person would like to know what other departments are within 2020 Trustees. Do you want to take a stab at that and I can help out?
Yeah, so, you know, we have our managing director, we have our founder, we have a head of operations, then we have a list of trustee directors, trustee consultants, senior trustee consultants, associate directors, and we have, and then we have people that help out on business and executive assistants as other in a sense. And we're actually also looking for a marketing specialist.
Yes. Yeah, so exactly right. So there's business development, right? So that's where Donray sits, and we really we try and drive new business and build our brand in the marketplace and make sure that we're known for doing the things that we do best. And then there are really the other main piece of the organization, and certainly the bulk of the organization are people who are really doing the trustee work. They're working directly with clients every day. We have just over 200 clients as an organization, so you can imagine that's a decent sized team. We have about 50 people in total, 50 at 2020 Trustees. Thanks, Donray. Shay, just in time, we have a question for you.
Yeah, apologies again, everyone.
Oh,
I'm glad it wasn't all of us that had the upgrade. That would have
Don't you love it? Anyway, listen, we have a question, and this one, we asked this one, but we thought, let's wait for Shay for this one because it's a good one for you. Pensions consultancy versus pension trusteeship. They have some similarities. Why choose trusteeship over consultancy?
It's a really, really good question. So that was essentially a decision I had to make because I went from pensions consultancy into pensions trusteeship. And the reason why I did it was, I guess to use an analogy is, do you want to be, this is the boxing ring analogy, right? Do you want to be outside the ring, sort of shouting to the boxer, do this, the left jab here, right? Or do you want to be in the ring doing the punch? And I want to be in the ring. And what I mean by that is the trustees are the final decision makers. They're the ones that bear the responsibility of delivering the financial retirement savings to pensioners, and the advisor's job is to support them in that decision making. But yeah, I wanted to be central to those decisions. And the other point there was I was a business advisor, and it meant that I was quite niche in my focus. So I didn't think about the investments as much. I didn't think about the law, the legal side. I didn't think about the ESG factors as much. I didn't think about what the actuaries were doing. But when you're in the center, you have to understand what everyone's doing, or the advice that everyone's giving. And so it just broadened my perspective, my knowledge. And yeah, that was a key decision for me moving into pension trusteeship.
I echo that. I think it's a really neat position to be the understanding person of all the pieces of the puzzle and being able to bring them together. Shay, I love your analogies. You've got boxing rings and lifelong relationships so far tonight. What else can we go? It's great.
I don't normally do analogies either. This is really what
but they're great. I love them. So I'm going to bring it to a close. We've answered all of the questions. Obviously, if you have any other questions that we can answer, please, we're on the 2020 Trustees website. You can reach us directly. We're very happy to help. You can tell that we love what we do. Please get in touch. We're happy to chat. I have a couple of comments in closing. First of all, thank you. We hope you all enjoyed getting to know 2020 Trustees. You know, we're always looking for great talent, so please don't be shy. Check our website for job openings. There's at least one on there now. There will be more soon. Many people have been asking about recordings for these sessions. Generally, all of these sessions are recorded. They're added to the Skills Workshop website after the session. Please go back and have a look. And don't forget, you can still register for all of the upcoming sessions. There are 33 more firms to go. PIMCO is up next. PIMCO are the giant titans of all things fixed income and are known for their income capabilities across the world. If you're curious and want to hear more, do join us. There's still time. If you're not curious, join anyway. There's always cool people talking on these things. And we're at that time. So I'm just here to say thank you to Shay and Don Ray for sharing your journeys and sharing your views with us. And thank you to Veronique behind the scenes who's been supporting us this whole time. We appreciate it. Please do connect with all of us on LinkedIn, send us emails, and follow the Skills Workshop for the latest updates. Thank you so much. I'll say good night. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care.